What happens when humans get angry? Top HFY sci-fi stories. In the far reaches of the galaxy, where civilizations of countless species coexisted, there was one truth that no one dared to ignore: never anger a human. It wasn't that humans were the largest or the most technologically advanced, but they had something far more dangerous: a furious, unyielding will that could shatter entire empires. Across the stars, stories of human rage were whispered in fear, each more legendary than the last. These were the tales of how humanity, when pushed too far, would rise with a fury that no one could comprehend. The Battle of Shendor. The Zyran Empire was a vast, powerful civilization that had conquered dozens of planets. When they set their sights on Earth, they underestimated humanity's resolve. The humans, though not yet spacefaring, were well known for their resilience. The Zyran leaders thought little of the primitive species, thinking they could be subdued with ease. One of the first acts of aggression was the destruction of a human colony on the moon of Shendor, a peaceful settlement of researchers. The Zyrans sent a fleet to wipe out the colony as a show of strength, but as their ships descended upon the peaceful world, they underestimated the anger of a single human. Admiral Sarah Connors, a woman who had lost everything to the Zyran invaders, led humanity's retaliation. Outnumbered and underprepared, she took a desperate gamble. She launched a counterattack using experimental weaponry left over from ancient Earth wars, tools and tech the Zyrans never thought to account for. The humans used guerrilla tactics, striking from the shadows, sabotaging key systems within the Zyran fleet. The more the Zyrans tried to contain them, the more brutal the humans became. It was a war of attrition, and the Zyrans quickly realized they were fighting a force they couldn't control. In the final battle, Admiral Connors single-handedly crippled the Zyran flagship, igniting a chain reaction that destroyed their fleet. It was said that in the last moments of the battle, she gave a chilling message broadcast across the galaxy: "This is what happens when you provoke humanity. Never make the same mistake again." The wrath of Earth's last hero. Centuries later, humanity had spread across the stars. The Galactic Council had long viewed humans as a minor species, dismissive of their potential. But their opinions changed when the Eurethian Horde, a race known for their brutal invasions and genocidal tactics, attacked the human homeworld. The Eurethians had underestimated humanity once more. They invaded Earth with full force, planning to conquer it swiftly. But they were unprepared for one thing: a human's love for their home and family. Among the defenders was a retired soldier named Captain Elias Rook. Though he had long put aside his weapons, the sight of Eurethian ships invading Earth brought something primal to life in him. Rook took to the battlefield once more, rallying a group of scattered human survivors, and together they launched a counterattack. Rook's leadership, fierce and unrelenting, became a rallying cry across the planet. Human resistance grew, becoming a wave of fury that seemed unstoppable. Every time a Eurethian ship fell, another human emerged to take its place. The humans weren't fighting for conquest, they were fighting for survival, for their homes, for the lives of their children. In the final confrontation, Rook single-handedly stormed the Eurethian command ship, hacking into their communications and broadcasting a message to their leaders: "Leave our planet, or face the fury of every human who ever lived." The Eurethians, seeing the magnitude of human resolve and power, retreated, never to invade Earth again. The legend of Captain Rook spread across the galaxy as a symbol of humanity's unshakable will. The unseen terror of humanity. In a corner of the galaxy, an ancient alien species known as the Vark had ruled over lesser civilizations for millennia. They believed themselves to be the superior race, incapable of defeat. When they discovered humanity, they saw nothing more than another species to subjugate. They began enslaving humans, stripping them of their resources, and forcing them into servitude. However, there was one thing the Vark never accounted for: human ingenuity. As the Vark brutally expanded their empire, they stumbled upon a group of human prisoners. What they didn't realize was that these humans were not ordinary captives. They were engineers, scientists, and military strategists, humanity's brightest minds. The prisoners, forced into grueling labor, had been secretly building an arsenal of devastating weapons in the shadows. When the day finally came, the Vark discovered that humanity's rage was not just physical, it was intellectual. The prisoners launched a rebellion, using the very tools the Vark had thought were for their benefit. They turned the Vark's own technology against them, triggering a chain reaction that decimated entire cities. The Vark never had a chance to respond. They realized, too late, that humanity's anger didn't come from brute force alone, it was the deadly combination of strength, intellect, and an unbreakable spirit. By the time they surrendered, humanity had already moved on to other worlds. The final judgment. As centuries passed, the reputation of humanity's fury spread throughout the universe. No empire dared to challenge Earth again, but the legend of humanity's wrath lived on. They were a species unlike any other, neither the strongest nor the most advanced, but the most terrifying when provoked. The greatest minds of the galaxy began to theorize that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology or their military, it was their emotion. Anger, when channeled, was the most powerful force in the universe, for in the hearts of humans burned an unstoppable rage, and when that fire ignited, it left nothing but the ashes of those who dared to stand in their way. And so, the universe learned one final lesson: never provoke a human when they are angry, for it is the one force in existence that even the gods would fear. The end. The reckoning of the Nezkar. The Nezkar were a race of alien conquerors known for their relentless expansion and brutality. They thrived by assimilating other species, subjugating them with advanced weapons and mind control. When the Nezkar learned of humanity's existence, they saw an opportunity to add another world to their growing empire. But what they didn't know was that Earth had never been conquered, not even by their kind. The Nezkar invaded Earth with an overwhelming force, using their mind control technology to break the human will. They enslaved entire populations, reducing humanity to mere pawns in their ever-growing empire. Yet, they had miscalculated humanity's spirit. Even under the weight of subjugation, the spark of resistance refused to die. One human, a former soldier named Anna Voss, rose to lead a rebellion. Her anger at the Nezkar's brutality was like a fire that could not be extinguished. She and her band of rebels, each fueled by the need to protect their families and homes, launched a guerrilla war across the planet. They targeted the Nezkar's supply lines, destroyed their mind control devices, and freed entire cities, one at a time. Anna's anger became a symbol of the human spirit, and the more the Nezkar tried to subdue them, the more relentless the humans became. After months of bloody conflict, Anna and her rebels infiltrated the Nezkar command center. They captured their leader, General Korthak, and broadcast a message across the galaxy: "You tried to break us. You tried to control us. Now, you will face the wrath of every human who ever stood up for their freedom." The Nezkar, despite their superior technology, were defeated. Their empire crumbled, unable to withstand the power of a species driven by the unyielding force of anger and love for their planet. The Nezkar learned, far too late, that humans could not be controlled, not by mind, not by force, and certainly not by anger. The awakening of the Firstborn. The Firstborn were the ancient creators of the galaxy, a race that predated all others. They had designed and shaped countless civilizations, planting the seeds of life across the stars. But the Firstborn had long since vanished, leaving behind only remnants of their technology and mysterious artifacts. When the Firstborn's artifacts were discovered by an ambitious galactic alliance, they began unlocking their powers. But as the alliance uncovered more and more of the Firstborn's secrets, they inadvertently triggered something far more dangerous, a dormant consciousness buried deep within the relics. That consciousness was a being of pure rage. It was humanity. Unknown to the galaxy, the Firstborn had created humanity as an experiment, a race designed to withstand the most extreme conditions. But there was a flaw in their creation: human anger. When the Firstborn vanished, they never anticipated that this singular emotion would become the driving force of the human race, building over centuries to a fury that could not be ignored. The galaxy watched in horror as Earth's people, long thought to be primitive and insignificant, awakened the ancient consciousness buried within them. The humans, driven by a primal rage, ascended beyond the limitations of their bodies and minds. Their anger became their power. Humanity did not conquer the galaxy, they reshaped it, with every act of resistance becoming a harbinger of their fury. The alliance of species, who had once seen humans as insignificant, now realized their mistake. Humanity, no longer bound by the limitations of their biology, could tear apart entire star systems in their wake. The Firstborn's final creation had awoken. and it was a force of nature that no civilization could hope to control. The galaxy trembled as humanity made its demands clear: we will not be controlled. We will not be subdued. We are the rage of the universe, and we will remake this galaxy in our image. The last stand of the Quarians. The Quarians were an ancient and powerful race, known for their wisdom and technological prowess. They lived in a utopia, believing that peace and cooperation were the only paths forward. They had never seen war and considered their superiority over other species to be a guarantee of their unshakable dominance. When they first encountered humanity, they saw nothing of value. To them, humans were a simple, barbaric species unworthy of notice. They could not comprehend how such a primitive race could ever pose a threat to their peace. But then the Quarians made a fatal mistake: they decided to disarm humanity. The Quarians infiltrated Earth and, using their advanced technology, stripped human governments of their weapons. They believed this would quell the potential for violence and bring about peace. They were wrong. In the silence that followed, something deep within humanity began to stir. They had been disarmed, yes, but their anger was still a weapon, one that could not be taken away. The humans began to fight back in new ways, through their sheer will, through political resistance, through sabotage, and through the power of their minds. The Quarians, realizing the gravity of the situation, attempted to negotiate, but by then, it was too late. Humanity was not seeking peace. They sought justice. The entire human race united in their resolve to free their world from the Quarian influence. Led by a brilliant strategist named Lucius Gray, humanity launched a devastating final assault. The Quarian utopia, once thought impenetrable, was shattered as humanity's fury turned every advantage the Quarians held into their greatest weakness. It was said that Lucius Gray's final command was to broadcast the message: never forget, a human's rage is a force that transcends all boundaries. We will always rise again. The Quarians were forced to retreat, leaving humanity to rebuild and reclaim its place in the galaxy. The universe learned a valuable lesson: underestimate humanity at your peril. When they are angry, they are unstoppable. Epilogue: the legacy of humanity's rage. Across the stars, stories of humanity's wrath spread like wildfire. Every species knew one thing for certain: when humans were pushed too far, they became an unstoppable force, a force driven not by hatred, but by the most powerful emotion in the universe: fear. Fear of the moment when a human, pushed to their limits, would unleash their fury, and in that fury, there would be no mercy. The galaxy had learned the hard way: never anger a human. The end. The fury of the Gorthai conclave. The Gorthai were an ancient species, a cold and calculating race with an unrelenting belief in their superiority. Their empire spanned galaxies, and their strategy was simple: to manipulate, conquer, and extinguish any who dared challenge their order. They saw themselves as the ultimate rulers of the cosmos, convinced that only through complete control could peace truly exist. When the Gorthai first encountered humanity, they scoffed. To them, humans were a young species, primitive in their ways, a far cry from the cold perfection of their empire. However, what they failed to recognize was that humanity's greatest strength lay not in their technology or armies, but in their undying spirit and relentless desire for freedom. It was a single Gorthai warlord, Commander Threx, who first made the grave mistake of angering humanity. During a diplomatic mission to Earth, Threx insulted human leaders, dismissed their people as weak, and threatened to annihilate them if they did not submit. He saw the human responses as emotional, naive outbursts, not recognizing the dangerous potential lying beneath the surface. In the days that followed, Earth's anger simmered, but it wasn't the kind of fury that would erupt in violence. No, it was something much more dangerous: a calculated vengeance. Humanity didn't just respond with weapons, they responded with strategy. The human intelligence networks, including former military strategists and rogue operatives, launched a series of covert strikes against the Gorthai's most crucial infrastructure. They infiltrated their supply chains, destabilized their communications, and unleashed chaos on the Gorthai's fleets, all without firing a single shot. In the final phase of their retaliation, a group of Earth's most brilliant minds used the Gorthai's own technology against them. They reprogrammed the Gorthai's artificial intelligence systems, causing their once unstoppable war machines to turn on their creators. It was an unprecedented humiliation for the Gorthai. Commander Threx, in a final attempt to crush humanity's resolve, launched a direct assault on Earth. But what he didn't understand was that humanity's anger was now a tidal wave. Earth, though technologically inferior, had prepared for this moment, and the combined might of human resolve surged into every corner of the battle. The Gorthai fleet was shattered, and Threx was forced to retreat in disgrace. Humanity had not only survived, but had humiliated a once great empire. Their message was clear: never mistake our compassion for weakness. Never forget, when we are angry, we will not stop until the universe trembles at our feet. The Shadow War with the Ztak. The Ztak were an enigmatic and cruel species, whose empire was based on secrecy and manipulation. Their ability to remain hidden from other civilizations, to operate in the shadows, made them one of the most feared species in the galaxy. They controlled vast networks of spies, informants, and saboteurs, often influencing events from behind the scenes without ever revealing their true intentions. When they first interacted with humanity, they did so in the shadows, subtly infiltrating human governments, manipulating events for their own gain. They believed that humanity was too focused on their primitive goals of freedom and exploration to recognize the invisible hand guiding them. They thought humanity was too scattered and disorganized to ever pose a real threat to their hidden empire. They were wrong. The moment the Ztak made their first public move to conquer Earth, they learned what true fury meant. The human response was swift, but not in the way they had anticipated. Instead of an open confrontation, humanity's anger festered in the form of guerrilla warfare, covert operations, and calculated sabotage. Ztak spies were eliminated one by one, their secretive tactics nullified by human ingenuity and teamwork. Humanity's anger was not a single, violent outburst, it was a meticulous, vengeful rage that eroded the very foundation of the Ztak's shadowy empire. The human counteroffensive wasn't a series of battles fought with weaponry alone. It was a war of attrition, with every Ztak agent eliminated through brilliant strategy, every covert mission turned against them. They came to realize that, unlike other species who might falter under pressure, humanity thrived in the chaos of their anger. In the final confrontation, humans unveiled a weapon born not of technology, but of sheer willpower. They had learned to disrupt the Ztak's stealth capabilities, forcing them into the open for the first time in centuries. The Ztak, the masters of shadow, had become the hunted. Human forces cornered the Ztak's highest leaders in a hidden stronghold, forcing them into surrender. As the last Ztak leader, Admiral Jtor, kneeled before a human general. The general spoke with quiet fury. You thought you could control us from the shadows, but you underestimated the power of humanity's rage. We are the light that exposes your darkness. The Ztak retreated into the deepest corners of the galaxy, never to threaten humanity again. Their empire crumbled in the face of human resilience. The final catalyst, the Great Rebellion. By this point, humanity had earned its place among the stars. No longer a young and naive species, they had become known as the untamable, the ones who had humbled empires, shattered civilizations, and proven time and again that when they were angry, they were the most dangerous force in the universe. But there came a moment when that anger, long controlled and tempered by the passage of time, would finally explode in a way that would change the course of history forever. It all started with a single act of betrayal by the highest galactic council, a council that represented the united species of the galaxy. They passed a decree to strip humanity of their rights, to forcefully assimilate their culture and technology. They saw humanity as a threat, but not one worth negotiating with. In that moment, the simmering anger of humanity, nurtured by centuries of being underestimated, finally found its release. A human rebellion, led by a charismatic and fiercely determined leader named Kiara Albright, broke out across the galaxy. But this wasn't like the previous rebellions. This one was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The rebellion was a unified front. Humans of every race, creed, and background came together to wage war against the Galactic Council, not out of hatred, but out of the unwavering belief that they had a right to their place in the galaxy. The rebellion wasn't about domination, it was about freedom. Human forces took control of key council planets. Their anger transformed into a relentless, strategic war machine. The galaxy watched in awe as humanity toppled the once untouchable council. unraveling the centuries-old power structures with brutal efficiency. In the final battle, Kiera stood before the leaders of the council, her anger not a flame but an unbreakable force that radiated from her every word. She spoke simply, "We are not your slaves. We are humanity. We are the ones you never understood. And now, we will never be silenced again." With those words, the Galactic Council collapsed, and humanity was free to chart its own destiny. Epilogue: The Endless Fury. The galaxy would never again forget the name of humanity. They had earned their place not by force, but by the power of their indomitable spirit. No longer would they be seen as mere bystanders in the cosmos. The legacy of their fury, born of love, loss, and the will to protect, had become a beacon across the stars. The universe had learned that when humanity gets angry, it is not the roar of a dying animal. It is the awakening of a force that cannot be reasoned with, cannot be controlled, and will not be ignored. The conquest of the Varkari Dominion. The Varkari Dominion was one of the most terrifying empires in the galaxy. Its members, known for their towering, insect-like bodies and immense physical strength, ruled over hundreds of worlds. They believed in a rigid hierarchy where strength was the only currency that mattered. The weak were crushed, the strong ruled, and the Varkari themselves saw all other species as inferior to their might. When they first encountered humanity, the Varkari dismissed them as insignificant. They had never faced a species so resourceful, so stubborn, and so willing to fight for their survival. The Varkari underestimated the one thing humans had in abundance: unshakable resolve. Their first act of aggression was swift and brutal, a surprise invasion of Earth. They attacked with all their might, overwhelming human defenses with sheer force. However, what the Varkari didn't account for was humanity's ability to adapt under pressure. Within days, Earth's cities were falling, but humans fought back with a fierceness that had no parallel. What started as a desperate defense became a devastating resistance. Led by General Samuel Hargrave, a battle-hardened veteran, humanity rallied together. The humans had no choice but to become the hunters. The Varkari, with all their strength and pride, failed to see the undercurrent of anger building in the hearts of every man, woman, and child. Humanity fought for their homes, their future, and above all else, their right to exist. In a series of guerrilla attacks and brutal skirmishes, humans turned the tide. Their tech was primitive compared to the Varkaris, but it was clever. It wasn't just their military strategies, they turned their anger into tactical genius. Humanity used their own weaknesses to outsmart their stronger enemies. In the final battle, General Hargrave led a daring assault on the Varkari flagship, the Vengeance of the Swarm, deep within the heart of their invasion fleet. With a ragtag team of human soldiers and engineers, Hargrave managed to plant a bomb at the core of the ship. As the Varkari fleet burned around them, humanity's message echoed through the stars: "We may be small, but we are strong. Never again will we be your slaves." The Varkari Dominion fell, their empire shattered, as humanity drove the last of them from Earth. The once mighty insect race was forced to retreat into the far reaches of space, leaving humanity to rebuild. The rise of the Vengeance fleet. After the defeat of the Varkari, humanity's rage became a symbol of their resilience. They were no longer seen as a primitive race to be dominated. They had shown the galaxy that, when pushed to the limit, they could unleash a fury so powerful it could break even the strongest enemies. It wasn't long before the next threat arose, this time from a coalition of species known as the Xanthii Alliance. The Xanthii were a technologically advanced civilization that believed in the superiority of their genetic engineering. They sought to perfect the galaxy by altering and controlling the genes of every species they encountered, forcing them to conform to their idea of perfection. When the Xanthii turned their eyes on Earth, they believed they could easily manipulate humanity into submission with their genetic modifications. However, they did not account for one vital fact: humans did not fear change, they feared losing their autonomy. The Xanthii started by attempting to genetically alter human biology, attempting to improve them according to their standards. But rather than breaking humanity's spirit, they awoke a new rage. The humans refused to be altered, rejected their so-called improvements, and fought back against their invaders with a vengeance. Humanity didn't just fight back in space battles, they adapted to the Xanthii's own genetic manipulation methods, turning their technology into a weapon against them. The human resistance, now dubbed the Vengeance Fleet, was formed, an unstoppable force of angry, liberated humans determined to rid the galaxy of the Xanthei's insidious control. The Vengeance Fleet attacked the Xanthei's homeworld, dismantling their genetic laboratories and freeing countless species from the chains of genetic slavery. In the final confrontation on the Xanthei's largest station, Admiral Rachel Burns, leader of the Vengeance Fleet, delivered a speech to the galaxy. "We are who we are. We may be flawed, but we are human, and no one has the right to take that away." The Xanthei, seeing the destruction of their perfect society and realizing they could no longer defeat humanity, were forced to negotiate peace. They were never a threat again, and humanity's rage became a universal warning. The Last War, Humanity's Legacy. By the time the Galactic Council called for peace, humanity had already earned its place as one of the most formidable species in the universe. No longer just a side note in the great galactic dramas, humanity had become a respected and feared power. They had toppled empires, liberated worlds, and shattered countless invaders who dared to cross them. But as the years passed, a sense of calm began to settle. Humanity had won their wars, freed their worlds, and established a powerful alliance with other races that once saw them as nothing more than a nuisance. Yet, one question still lingered in the hearts of every being who had witnessed humanity's rise: what would happen if humanity's anger ever returned? It was said that in the distant reaches of space, near the edge of the galaxy, a powerful empire began to rise once again. The Jarrell Dominion, a vast and ruthless empire of genetically engineered conquerors, sought to prove themselves the supreme rulers of the universe. Their first act was to wipe out a small human colony on a distant planet, seeing it as a test of their power. What they didn't know was that their actions would awaken the final fury of humanity. The people of Earth, no longer content to sit idle, rallied their forces once more. This time, however, they were not fighting to protect their homes. They were not fighting to simply survive. This time, humanity fought with an unquenchable thirst for justice. They did not just seek to defeat the Jarrell, they sought to erase the memory of their empire from the stars. The human fleet, led by General Cale Donovan, who had been a symbol of humanity's fury for decades, descended upon the Jarrell Dominion with a single, unspoken vow: "We will make sure that no one ever dares to challenge us again." In the final battle, humanity fought with such intensity and fury that even the gods of the galaxy themselves looked on in awe. The Jarrell fleet was annihilated, their cities burned, and their empire erased from existence. The galaxy, once again, learned the most important lesson it had ever known: never anger a human. Humanity's legacy was sealed, not in the technology they built or the alliances they forged, but in the indomitable rage they carried within them. The universe knew that humanity would never again be underestimated, and that if they were ever provoked, they would rise up with an unstoppable fury. And so, the universe trembled. For as long as humanity existed, the fury of Earth would always be ready to rise once more. The end. The rage of the Darkborn. The Darkborn were a race of shadowy entities, living in the void between stars. Their empire was based on fear and subjugation, built by silently corrupting the civilizations they encountered, turning them into pawns in their quest for dominion over the cosmos. The Darkborn were not an empire of brute strength, but one of subtlety and psychic manipulation. They thrived by infiltrating the minds of other species, controlling their leaders, and spreading terror through fear. When they first encountered humanity, they saw only the perfect prey. Humans were young, they assumed, and would be easy to subjugate, ripe for the Darkborn to prey upon. They underestimated humanity's will to resist. The Darkborn's first move was to take control of Earth's governments, subtly manipulating key world leaders and turning them into mind-controlled puppets. For a time, the Earth seemed to fall under their influence, with humanity's leaders making strange, uncharacteristic decisions that appeared to be in their best interest, but were, in fact, the work of the Darkborn. What the Darkborn failed to understand was that, though humanity had been manipulated, it could not be broken. Human nature, driven by the desire for freedom and self-determination, could not be so easily subdued. A resistance movement, led by a group of exceptional humans who had resisted the Darkborn's psychic control, began to form. These rebels, ordinary people with no special abilities, fought against the overwhelming psychic forces with their raw anger and determination. It was a war waged not with weapons, but with willpower. And then, humanity discovered the truth. Their anger, the deep, burning fury that the Darkborn had underestimated, was a weapon. The mind of a human, unyielding in its resolve, could not be manipulated or controlled. The anger that surged in human hearts served as a natural counterforce to the Darkborn's mind tricks. The more the Darkborn tried to invade human minds, the stronger humanity's resistance became. It was as if human anger created a barrier that the Darkborn could not penetrate. The rebellion grew, and soon, humanity's resistance forces were turning the tide against their oppressors. The Darkborn, who had relied on psychic control for centuries, found themselves overwhelmed by a force they could not fathom, the pure, unrelenting will of humanity. In the final confrontation, the human leaders broadcasted a message across the galaxy, challenging the Darkborn to face them directly. We are not your slaves. You can control our leaders, but you will never control our hearts. The final battle took place within the heart of the Darkborn's empire, an immense station located in the darkest part of the galaxy. The humans, armed only with their rage and determination, fought their way through the station. They destroyed the Darkborn's psychic amplifiers and shattered the foundations of their empire. The Darkborn, once rulers of entire systems, were forced to retreat into the deep recesses of space, never to return. And so, humanity proved that no matter how powerful or terrifying the enemy, their rage and unbreakable will would always prevail. The iron will of the Helgarian Confederacy. The Helgarians were a proud and ancient species, known for their unshakable belief in order and precision. Their empire was built on military discipline and ruthless efficiency. To them, chaos was the enemy. Everything in the galaxy must be orderly and controlled, and they believed that humanity's chaotic, unpredictable nature made them an ideal target for assimilation. The Helgarian Confederacy began by offering humanity an alliance. Their logic was simple: join the Confederacy and benefit from their superior technology and systems. However, humanity did not want to be ruled, nor did they want to conform to someone else's definition of order. When Earth's leaders rejected the alliance, the Helgarians took it as an insult. They didn't understand why humanity would refuse such an offer. In their eyes, the Helgarians were offering peace, and humanity's refusal was nothing more than rebellious pride. What they didn't anticipate was the rage that stirred within humanity's heart. The Helgarians believed they could force their order upon the chaotic humans with ease, but humanity would not bend. They would not be ruled. When the Helgarian fleet arrived at Earth, they did so with confidence, expecting quick compliance. But humanity, enraged at the prospect of losing their independence, rose up in defiance. Earth's defenders, though outmatched, fought with a fury that the Helgarians had never experienced. The humans, driven by anger at the very idea of subjugation, outwitted the Helgarian fleet in a series of devastating tactical strikes. The Helgarians were confused. This wasn't the way things were supposed to go. Humanity wasn't supposed to fight back like this. They were supposed to fall in line. But humanity had learned to turn their anger into a force greater than any battle strategy. They fought with purpose, with passion, and with the belief that they would never be enslaved. In the final confrontation, it was Admiral Katya Valen, a leader who had once been a simple soldier, who stood before the Helgarian Supreme Commander. She delivered a single, defiant statement: "We are human. We do not need your order. We will make our own." The Helgarians, having underestimated humanity's unyielding desire for freedom, retreated. The Confederacy's grip on the galaxy loosened, and humanity stood proud once again, knowing that their anger, when directed at injustice, was enough to topple any empire. The galactic reckoning, humanity's fury unleashed. By now, the galaxy had witnessed humanity's unstoppable anger more than once. From the defeat of the Darkborn to the collapse of the Helgarian Confederacy, one thing had become clear: humanity's rage, when it rose, was an unstoppable force. But what if the galaxy's enemies learned to fear not just the humans themselves, but the very concept of humanity's rage? As the years passed, a new power emerged: the Unified Galactic Council, an organization of the galaxy's most influential species, sought to impose a set of strict laws to control the movements of all sentient species. They claimed that a universal peace could only be achieved by creating a singular set of rules for all civilizations to follow, rules that included curtailing human exploration and limiting their expansion. The Council, thinking they could control humanity's destiny, began to restrict human rights, impose tariffs on trade, and deny humans access to critical resources. They did so under the belief that humanity's unchecked growth would lead to chaos. But this time, the humans were no longer just angry. This time, humanity was united, not by rage alone, but by a fierce belief that their place in the galaxy was not for anyone to decide but themselves. The final conflict was inevitable. The galaxy would face a reckoning. Humanity rose, not just in defense of their homeworld, but as a singular force against the Council's tyranny. They unleashed the full might of their fleets, their ingenuity, and their fury. But it was not just their weapons that struck fear into their enemies, it was the idea of what humanity represented, a species who would never accept submission. In the final battle, when the Council's flagship stood at the heart of the conflict, humanity's forces overwhelmed them with a devastating series of strikes. And as the Galactic Council disbanded, a message was sent across the galaxy: we are humanity. We do not kneel, and if you try to force us, we will rise again. Epilogue, a legacy written in fury. And so, the galaxy learned the final truth about humanity, that their rage was not a curse, but a catalyst, a force of nature that, when harnessed, could reshape the very fabric of the universe. They were a species driven not by hatred, but by a fierce love for their freedom and their future. The Wrath of the Titans. In the far reaches of the galaxy, a race of colossal, godlike beings known as the Titans had long ruled unchallenged. The Titans were ancient and powerful, their civilization built on unimaginable technology and their physical forms towering above any other species. They believed that their superiority gave them the right to impose their will on the lesser species of the galaxy, seeing themselves as divine beings, meant to govern the cosmos. For millennia, the Titans crushed any resistance they encountered, bending other civilizations to their will, and even subjugating entire star systems. Their arrogance and disdain for anything they deemed inferior were legendary. To them, humans were no more than ants, small, fragile, and insignificant. But humanity was no ordinary species. It began with the Titan Empire's first encounter with Earth. The Titans sought to expand their dominion by conquering human territory, expecting humanity to bow before their might. They underestimated human ingenuity and spirit. Humans, unlike other species, didn't just submit to oppression, they fought back. At first, the Titans didn't take the threat seriously. They sent a fleet of warships to Earth, confident they could crush humanity in a single stroke. However, what they didn't anticipate was that humans, driven by their fury, would not surrender without a fight. Under the leadership of Admiral Aiden Shaw, humanity launched an all-out counteroffensive. The Titan warships, far larger and more powerful than anything humanity had ever seen, were formidable. But what the Titans failed to understand was that humans had learned to fight dirty. They used tactics that the Titans hadn't anticipated: unpredictability, deception, and most of all, anger. Admiral Shaw led the human fleet with a calm yet seething rage, exploiting the Titans' overconfidence. They laid traps, used guerrilla tactics, and staged ambushes on the Titan ships, slowly chipping away at their invulnerable facade. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and outmatched in almost every way, but they refused to lose. Then came the turning point. On the day the Titan flagship, Kronos, entered Earth's atmosphere, the human forces had one final, desperate plan: a direct assault. A small fleet of human fighters, led by the now legendary Captain Tessa Greer, infiltrated the flagship. It was a suicide mission, but the humans knew they had no choice. As the human forces penetrated the flagship's hull, they planted a bomb that would cause a chain reaction through the Titan fleet's most powerful weapon systems. The Titan Emperor, Valinor, tried to use his immense telepathic power to break the will of the human attackers. But what he didn't understand was that the human spirit was immune to his mind games. His attempts to control their minds only fueled their determination. As the bomb detonated, the Titan fleet erupted in a massive explosion that sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The humans, though battered and scarred, had dealt a blow to the Titans from which they would never recover. Valinor, witnessing the fall of his empire, turned to face Admiral Shaw one last time. With rage in his voice, Valinor demanded, "How did you do this? You are nothing but insects." Admiral Shaw's voice, calm and defiant, responded, "Because, when we're angry, we don't just fight, we win." The remaining Titans fled into the deep void of space, never to challenge humanity again. The message was clear across the galaxy: never underestimate the fury of a human. The wrath of the Forsaken Legion. Far from the core of civilization, in the bleakest corners of the galaxy, a militaristic race known as the Forsaken Legion lay in wait. They were the last remnants of a warlike civilization that had destroyed everything in their path. No one knew where they came from, but they had become infamous for their ruthless, unrelenting warfare. They had conquered countless worlds, but their greatest victory was always their greatest mistake. The Forsaken Legion had come across humanity while searching for new worlds to conquer. Their first move was typical: invade and subdue. They deployed their elite shock forces to Earth, believing that humanity, a relatively young species, would easily crumble under their superior strength. What they didn't expect was that Earth had already been hardened by centuries of conflict, wars, and struggles. Humanity's collective fury had been simmering, and the Forsaken Legion was about to become the target of that rage. Unlike other species who fell before the Legion's superior tactics, humanity fought with a ferocity driven by something the Forsaken couldn't comprehend: the fight for freedom. Humans didn't just battle to survive, they battled because they refused to submit. General Abigail Chase, a battle-hardened human leader, rallied the planet's defenses. Unlike the Forsaken, whose warfare was rigid and predictable, humanity adapted. They built traps, lured their enemies into urban warfare, and used guerrilla tactics that shredded the Forsaken's organized lines. Each small victory was a victory of will, and each step forward was powered by the raw, undiluted rage of a species that would not back down. The Forsaken tried to use fear, psychological warfare, and sheer brutality to break the human spirit. But what they didn't understand was that fear only fueled the flames of humanity's anger. The more brutal their tactics, the fiercer humanity's resolve became. Every life lost only added to the fire. In the final battle, the Forsaken's flagship descended into Earth's atmosphere, intending to destroy all resistance. But humanity, under General Chase's leadership, had a plan. They didn't just fight, they turned the Forsaken's own weapon against them. They activated a long-forgotten weapon buried beneath Earth's surface, an ancient technology developed during humanity's earliest days. The weapon, powered by the rage of billions of humans, sent out a shockwave that crippled the Forsaken's fleet, sending them spiraling into retreat. The Forsaken Legion was forced to flee into the unknown reaches of space. General Chase stood at the helm, staring into the void, knowing that humanity had won not because of their technology, but because they had learned to turn anger into power. She spoke quietly to her crew: "We may be small, but we will never be broken, and now, they will know what it means to anger a human." The final reckoning: humanity versus the Ascendants. The galaxy had learned many things about humanity: their adaptability, their ingenuity, and above all, their uncontrollable rage. But when a new enemy, the Ascendants, arrived at the galaxy's doorstep, they were determined to prove that even humanity's fury could be defeated. The Ascendants were an ancient race of beings who had mastered the power of genetic evolution. They had perfected their biology, giving themselves near mortality and unmatched physical prowess. They sought to elevate the entire universe to their level, imposing their will on all species. Their plan for humanity was simple: assimilation. The Ascendants saw human imperfection as something to be fixed. Their arrival on Earth was swift and brutal. They decimated human fleets, captured cities, and began the process of forcibly modifying human genetics, attempting to improve the species according to their standards. But this time, humanity's rage was no longer just about survival. It was personal. The Ascendants sought to change humanity, to erase the very essence of who they were, and that was something that no human could stand for. The fight was long, brutal, and unforgiving, but humanity's anger burned hotter than ever before. Under the leadership of Commander Elias Drake, the human forces launched one final, coordinated strike. Their strategy was simple: to fight not just to survive, but to protect everything they were.